Hello everybody and welcome to lesson 6 of the year 9 natural hazards topic. First of all, I just want to say a huge well done to all of you. The numbers of you completing the work is absolutely fantastic. Some really good input from all of you. I'm very impressed with the effort. I'm seeing also quite a lot of PowerPoints being sent back to me, or your copies of work, photographs of work, etc. It's superb. Do feel free to load it up onto Teams. You should be able to put it into your own user area where only our staff can see it, and then we can potentially, if we need to, give you some feedback. And actually that's quite important with today's work, because we're going to do something just a little bit different at the end of this. So I say keep going. Fantastic quizzes. Major apologies, last week I made a bit of a boo-boo and managed to actually give you a lot of you 0 points for the last answer instead of the 3, because I forgot to tick that there was more than one answer. But a lot of you emailed me, and that's brilliant. So I actually keep a spreadsheet of your scores. So all I've done is I've just amended it on the original. So if you do spot any mistakes, do email me. After all, I'm only human. It's Friday afternoon quite often when I do these, and it just goes to show if you leave things to later on in the week, sometimes you make mistakes. So huge apologies. Okay, always important for us to go back and think about prior learning. So just to give you a little bit of an opportunity to go back, a bit of a pyramid here, because we only did lesson 5 last week. I only want you to come up with 1 fact, 2 facts from lesson 4, all the way down to see whether you can come up with 5 facts from lesson 1. If you can't remember any of them, all of the lessons are numbered on Teams and also on all of the videos. So put yourself on pause and do a little bit of revision here. Okay, so well done folks for actually coming up with some revision points. I'm going to just be totally honest with you here. There are some students that will have done this before. My class, just before we went into official lockdown, you may recall we had a lesson where there probably wasn't even half of you. So some of you will have seen some of these slides before. That being said, the final task that I'm asking you to do is different. So at various points when I say yes, you know this and you don't have to do it, if you've already been in that lesson, then that's absolutely fine. But the vast majority of this you'll be able to do. So a bit of a different starter activity here, a way of cracking the code, bringing in some skills that you did back in year 7 when we were looking at grid references. So if you remember the phrase along the corridor and up the stairs, you will hopefully be able to work out these codes. And just as a reminder here, so if we took the first one at 54.25, we would go across to 54, and the 54 is on that line there, and up to 25. So our first letter is B. So see whether you can work out what this lesson is about. Just be a little bit careful here, because that is the 56 and that is the 21. It should all have fitted on one line. Okay, so we're going to call today's lesson "Why Can't Everyone Celebrate Boxing Day?" So a bit of a clue for those of you who will be doing the quiz as to what one of the answers could be. And today's learning objectives are: we're going to illustrate the causes of a tsunami, analyse the impacts and responses, and sort of start to think about why the effects were so severe. And that's really important, this idea of, okay, we've had a tsunami, but lots of places have a tsunami, but why was this one so significant that here we are 15, 16 years on, still talking about it now? So just a recap as to where this fits into our natural hazards topic. Okay, remember we've looked at what makes a natural hazard, we've looked at structure of the earth and plate tectonics, and this is the last part of what we're going to look at, of what we call seismic events. A tsunami is a seismic event because it's been triggered by an earthquake. So we've spent lesson 5 was looking at our high income country earthquake, which was Christchurch in New Zealand. And lesson 4 was our low income earthquake, where we were looking at earthquakes in Haiti. So just to be able to see where we're going, the next few lessons we're going to be looking at volcanoes and then living in hazardous areas. Okay, so always good to think with some images of what potentially could be, and we think about where do you think this is, why has it happened, but also start making some predictions as to what you think may happen next. Just a few facts about tsunamis. A tsunami wave can reach over 30 meters in height. Now, for those of you who can picture the geography classrooms, okay, if you know, they have a slanted ceiling. And I've measured before from the carpet right up until the top part of that slanted ceiling is 5 meters. So we're talking 6 times the height of the geography classrooms. And actually they can go even higher when they reach land. Most of them, though, are no more than 9 meters. Now, that being said, that's still nearly twice the height of those ceilings. They're also moving really, really fast, okay, about 600 miles an hour or 970 kilometers per hour, and that's about the speed of a jet plane. Okay, what I'd like you to do is to be able to understand what happens with a tsunami. There's a little bit of another YouTube video clip here. I will put the link onto Teams, so you don't have to try and come out of this and type it in. You can just click straight on that link at this point. But what's quite important is that right before a tsunami strikes, the ocean can, but not always, suddenly appear to drain away or recede. Recede means go backwards. If you think about people talking about receding hairline, it means it's going backwards, exposing the seabed normally underwater. And you can see those people there sort of standing looking at this. And I did actually tell the class when I saw my group just before lockdown that in the Boxing Day tsunami, there was a girl of about 12 from Britain that was on the beach with her family in, I believe, Thailand, but I'm not sure of the exact location because it affected lots of countries. And she saw this water start to recede, and only just before she'd gone on holiday at Christmas, her geography teacher had talked to them about tsunamis and had told them this fact. And unlike these people in this image who stood there staring, she knew exactly what was on its way. And she literally yelled at everybody. It was a relatively small beach, and they managed to clear the beach and survive in time. So, you know, it just goes to show the importance of actually paying attention in your lessons. So watch the video clip. It's a bit of an animated version to explain what happens with the cause of a tsunami. Just in addition, there is also apparently people saw fish sort of sitting on the seabed. Okay, this is the element here where if you were in that lesson, you potentially have already done this. So if you've got this in your geography book, don't feel that you have to do it again, or you might want to do a better one. And the idea is to use that information from that video that you just watched, the animation on the causes of a tsunami and how it happens, to be able to make your own little bit of an image to just sort of illustrate what happens. And okay, so there's some statements here if you want to use them, or there are other ones that you will have as a PDF file that you can add onto this. And I will also attach for you these little strips so that you can draw them straight on if you want. Try to use your own ones, but these here are quite good examples. Okay, so the Boxing Day tsunami occurred on the 26th of December 2004, and there were 13 different countries that were affected, but the worst hit areas were Thailand and Indonesia. On average, the waves reached 25 meters, so that's 5 times the height of our ceiling, and destroyed everything in its path. And they reckon that there was 250,000 people died. There are other estimates I've seen up to 320,000 people. The problem is a lot of these countries don't have accurate recordings of how many people live in each country, so it's always been an estimate. And when you get to that sort of height in numbers, it's also very, very difficult to actually get accurate reports. But also there were millions that were homeless. We sometimes use that phrase displaced, because they actually couldn't be placed where they normally are. They had to move elsewhere. And what I was talking about before, that these people here stood there watching it and it was too late. Okay, and me jumping back a little bit, you can see that over in this particular example here that we're looking at, you can see the time it took for the tsunami to travel. And it took up to sort of 10 to 12 hours before it reached parts of the African coast, so quite some time. So how were people affected? So this is the casualties. Now, as I said earlier, this is the information that they believed to be accurate. So you can see the number of people who died in different countries, including the number that missing. Now, usually what happened, sadly, is the number of people missing would in effect be counted as deaths. It just means they never found them, partly because as the wave moved in, and I say wave, it was actually a succession of waves, it wasn't just one, and they were quite some time apart, you know, sometimes 10-20 minutes. So people saw the first wave and may have survived that one and thought it was okay and started to come back, but there were more to follow because it's not just one. So when you actually look at the missing, as those waves, succession of waves, they pick up lots of silt, which is the sediment at the bottom of the sea, and also riverbeds. And as you know, all rivers eventually join the sea, plus the sort of land, the mud and soil from the landscape. And really sadly, it can actually go over the people. So some people were just never found, or they were with the retreating wave after, when it comes back, what's sometimes called the backwash, that would have taken bodies out to sea. And that's also why the numbers are very, very difficult to be accurate, because did those people die? As time went on, they obviously have been presumed missing, so are actually classed as deaths. So you can see that Indonesia, where the earthquake actually struck, understandably had the highest number of deaths and missing, so nearly 200,000 in total just there. The country that's often seen that we talk about a lot is Thailand. Thailand had over 11,000 people either confirmed dead or missing, but also quite a high number of people that were injured. Other countries such as Kenya, you can see Kenya all the way over on the east coast of Africa, actually had a very, very low death rate of only one person. Part of that is the wave took 10 hours for actually travelling there, so it wasn't as big and not as powerful. Secondly, one of the biggest problems with this tsunami was nobody had a warning system, and this is the biggest tragedy of it all. People knew that there had been this earthquake, okay, magnitude 9.2, even on the land of, even though it happened in the sea, but in the land of Indonesia and Sumatra, they actually, you know, buildings shook and collapsed, and there was terrible devastation there. And what's called seismologists looked at this and went, there's been an earthquake, and they knew that it would trigger a tsunami. And obviously it hit Indonesia quickly, then it travelled and it moved towards Thailand and Myanmar or Burma, and it kept travelling trying to reach these countries. But there was no international system for anybody to ring somebody and say, right, well, you've got a tsunami coming your way, you need to evacuate the beaches. The 10 hours it took to get to Kenya, in that time they had worked out that they did need to call people, and they did actually manage to evacuate most of the beaches there. I'm not quite sure why one person still died, but the beaches were evacuated. Since 2004, there is now an international system in place so that should that tragedy happen again, it potentially may not have protected the people in Indonesia, but it would protect those other 12 countries that were also affected, because now there are systems in place of who to contact and very, very clear plans to evacuate beaches and low-lying areas. Okay, when you were in year 7, we did some work on this, and you potentially will watch the film The Impossible. There's a clip here, it's about 2 and a bit minutes long. It is just taken from the film. By all means, if you are at the stage of just thinking, oh, I don't know what to watch on Netflix or whatever it is you've been watching, and you can get access to watching The Impossible, it's a good watch. It's sad. It's not going to make you feel happy at the end of it. Well, might do. I won't give any spoilers away. There are a couple of really horrific bits. There's a bit where there's someone in hospital and she coughs up basically everything that's gone into her lungs from the water. Not particularly pleasant, so feel free to skip that bit. I know when I've shown it to you in school, I've always fast forwarded that bit because it's not pleasant, although you're a couple of years older now. But do have a look. For those of you who like Spider-Man, spot the guest appearance. Right, so this is a bit now that's over to you. What I really want you to do is to carry out your own research onto either the Japanese tsunami of March 2011. So you may think, actually, I know quite a bit about the Boxing Day or Sumatra tsunami, but I'm quite interested in what happened in Japan in 2011. Or you can stick to this one. Either way, I don't mind. And I want you to come up with some research and a presentation. And the format you can do it like I do it, it's just a PowerPoint. If you really wanted to, you can learn to do what I've done, which is record over it and make a bit of a video with it. You might want to do it on Word and just do a bit of a fact file. This is what I found out, but please don't just copy and paste. There's 200 of you and I don't just want to read 200 versions of you just copying and pasting from the internet. Okay, you're better than that. You may want to make an educational leaflet, so maybe go on to Publisher or something, or on your own piece of paper and draw everything out and take a photograph of it. Be creative, do it whatever you make where you want. If you are really creative, make, I don't know, plasticine models and act it out. Just go for it. Okay, you've got a couple of weeks to do this one, so I really don't mind on how you want to do it. There is no pressure here. I'm just intrigued and trying to see if you want to do something a bit different. So what I want to make sure you include in it is some of the, obviously the background information, you know, when it happened, where it happened, the magnitude of the earthquake that triggered it, the plates that were involved, all of those sort of geographical causes of it. What I'm asking you to do here that's really going to show that you've understood it, and it links with that third learning objective, which is to think about the impact, the effects of it. Now we call this SHEEP, and it stands for S for social, H for health. In this case, sometimes we do talk about it historical, but in this instance I want it to be health. E for economy, anything to do with money. Also E for environmental, so what actually happened to the landscape. The Japanese tsunami, when you actually look at a lot of the footage of it, it looks like oil's come all over the land. So think about what happened to that water. Also the Fukushima nuclear power plant, I think that's certainly a big environmental issue there. And then political. Is the government to blame for the severity of the damage? Why weren't people warned, or were they warned? Japan has an excellent warning system. They also have tsunami walls. Look to see if you're doing that one. Why were the walls not effective? As I say, do send me them. If you want to send to me on PowerPoint, do, or whatever format you want to do, photographs, etc. But also it would be great if you upload it to Teams as well. Okay, so finally there's the infamous quiz. Some good scores that are coming out on this. Hopefully no mistakes this time, but I make no promises. Okay, but stay safe, enjoy the work, and see you soon. Bye.